The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit givestarquest.com. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. Joining me today on the panel are Joanne Mercier. Hey, Joanne.
Hey, Dom.
And Leo Devick. Hey, Leo.
Hey, Dom.
So we're going to be talking today about TVs and streaming boxes, and it's actually really apt time to talk about it because according to statistics, I could say that word, according to statistics, this is the time of year when most people buy TVs, and they usually buy them in the weeks leading up to the Super Bowl, which, you know, is the great big TV watching experience. So we're going to be talking about smart TVs and streaming boxes and why you might want to choose one over the other, the pros and cons, and some of the differences between them. The TV technology is advancing like crazy these days. There's all kinds of changes. There's all TV manufacturers are always coming up with some new thing, the new technology that we're all going to convert to. Do you remember 3D TV? Remember that was the thing?
Yes.
So one of the things we could talk about is, well, there was an article from Ars Technica, just to, you know, kind of as we get into it, that 8K TV, which is, again, was the last thing they said was the future of TV, may not be the future of TV. And so as they get into the article, they kind of talk about how they were really pushing it 10 years ago with the super expensive ones. But now they've actually stopped making the panels. They're kind of saying nobody's buying them. And part of the reason is because they don't look any different from normal viewing distance for most people on a regular living room size TV. It's a 4K and an 8K. There's not much difference. And frankly, there's not a lot of good 4K content out there, never mind 8K. What do you think? I mean, do you guys have, there's still a lot of 1080p TVs out there too. Are you guys 4K, 1080p?
Yeah, I definitely lag, actually. Yeah, no, I technology wise, I feel like I'm always like at least like 5 or 7 years behind, which is kind of embarrassing to admit on the technology show. But, but yeah, I've got an old like 48 inch, like, yeah, probably 1080p, like Roku smart TV. And like, I think I had a buddy who had a 4K TV and I was like, this looks pretty good. But I don't know. I'm more of an audio guy too. So I think once we get to like talk more about that, I'm like, yeah, I like a good sound. But yeah, I don't think the 8K TV, I don't even know if I could tell a difference between an 8 and a 4. Right. So yeah, I'll stick with my 1080 and have my nice wallet. So
And Joanne, what about you? What do you think the 4K, 8K?
We bought a 4K 10 years ago. Just as and we did it. I did it purposely because he wanted to buy the year previous version and said, let's save a little money. I said, no, let's future proof ourselves because that's my big thing.
Right.
I said, buy the new one. We won't need another one for 10 years.
Right.
We're on the 10th year of this TV now, and I don't think we need another one. But then I heard about our next point. And I said, I think we need to think about this before this happens.
Right. Yeah, you're referring to the something else we want to bring up. I do want to mention before we get to that, though, the big thing to me is not so much the resolution as TV size. And it drives me a little crazy that you can't buy a what I think is a reasonable size TV anymore. I have a 38-inch, 42-inch TV, and it feels huge in my little house. I don't want a 70-inch TV. It feels like it's a whole wall. I may as well just turn a wall into a TV.
You need to buy the TV to your space.
Yeah. And they don't sell them that small.
That's the problem. What's happening now is I think 55 is like the smallest they want to make.
Yeah.
But try putting a 55 sized one in your bedroom.
Right.
For example, that's overkill.
Or my little ranch.
Sitting on the bridge. Yeah. You're just looking at the bridge. You're like, wow, deep space. Here we are.
Right. So the other thing, the bridge, the Enterprise. Yeah, that would be actually kind of cool. So the other thing is, as you were referring to, there's a new story about how Sony, which for many years they were for years the premium TV, especially like back in the tube days, the Sony Bravia TVs. They had those great ads with the color explosions and stuff like that. They're actually getting out of the TV business, or partially getting out of it. They're selling a major stake in their TV business to TCL, which is kind of an interesting move, because TCL, they're kind of a budget. So far, I would think of them. I would have thought of them as a budget manufacturer. So, TCL's going to have a 51% stake in the Bravia business, and they're going to be making the TVs for them. So that's interesting. What do you think of that, Joanne?
Yeah, well, as one who's owned a Bravia for the last 20 some odd years, I want to stay with the true Bravia. Because, I mean, I've got a 10-year-old Bravia that looks great, even though it doesn't have Dolby Vision, even though it doesn't have some of the, more fancy things that we have now. I have bought TCL for work. I bought a TCL with the Roku in it, and I'm not impressed. Okay. I mean, it's a good TV for the space. It's for work. It's got a Roku in it. But if I'm going to be using it as my main television to watch movies and to watch TV and to do streaming and even sometimes to cast things onto it, I want something that's going to pull the load for a long time.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that TCL, even though they will use Bravia technology, I have a feeling they're going to start cheapening out, number one.
Yep.
And number two, I'm concerned that it's a Chinese product now and not Japanese,
right?
Which to me sends off the warning bells of how much do you want to get my information,
right?
Even though I don't use it that way,
right?
But still,
that gets into the kind of our main part of the discussion where we talk about smart TVs versus streaming boxes and the pros and cons. And so, like, what are we talking about? We talk about smart TVs and streaming boxes. So pretty much, I don't think you can buy a quote unquote dumb TV anymore. They may be out there. Like, you'd have to buy like just a large monitor, basically at this point. So what are we talking about? We talk about smart TV. Smart TVs they basically have the streaming box built in. And so they have apps in it. So when you turn on your Samsung, your TCL, or your whatever, it wants to be connected to the internet. And then it'll have the Netflix app, and it'll have the Disney app and Apple TV app. Apple TV's on there, and like all the different services will be on there. And it's all built into your TV. Whereas the streaming box is a box that you connect to a TV. It will have its own platform, and it will have its own operating system, and will project it into the TV that's connected to. And again, it will have its own app store and all the apps that connect to all the streaming services. So that's the biggest difference. And so folks may be wondering, so why would I get something with a separate box as opposed to have it all in one? And from my point of view, it's kind of like the whole, do I get a iMac versus a Mac Mini or Mac Studio? Why buy two devices instead of one? And and you all can tell me what you think of this, but for me, I would prefer to have two devices, because then when one breaks, I don't have to throw them both out if it's all in one. And when the technology gets upgraded, I only have to replace one of them, because usually the technology that's upgraded is either a better screen or a better box. And if the screen's fine, but the box stuff inside is that's usually the way I look at it. How would you guys look at it?
Same way.
Yeah.
Same way for me, and I also have the concern about the smart TVs being able to get your information. Whereas if I'm using something and my preferred streamer is an Apple TV.
Yep.
I'm going to be in that little nice walled garden where everything is private. And I just get to the point where if this breaks, I only have to buy a $129 piece. If the TV goes sour, now we're talking, because I want something that's big, that's going to last a while. Right. I shouldn't have to change my TVs every 5 years or so. But streaming box, you're going to end up changing that because technology changes.
Right, right. What do you think, Leo, about the all-in-one?
Yeah, so I think right now I do have an all-in-one. I've got like the TLC with Roku. I got it at like Walmart on Black Friday for like $120. And as a college kid, that does the job. Like kind of little things we'll watch. We've got like in kind of our setup, I suppose, too, everybody has a game console that can also do DVDs. So we'll just run off the PlayStation. But actually, one use case, I had a friend freshman year who bought one of those. I think it was like a Fire Stick, which maybe was the Amazon like plug-in TV offering. And on our campus, we have a ton of like random TVs everywhere. So like in like lounges, there's like a TV, and they're old enough. So actually, some of them are like dumb TVs. They don't have like Netflix or anything like that. So my friend would go around with his Fire Stick and just plug it into the TV, and he's already logged into all of his apps. He has all his stuff there ready to go, and we'll just like watch a movie out there in like a lounge. Then when he's done, he just unplugs it and brings it back with him.
That was
a pretty cool innovation, especially if you're college kids like living in a small dorm. You can't have a TV, or like bring a movie night to go to use like one of the massive ones somewhere on campus. That'd be pretty good. But yeah, I don't know if I really have a firm position on a camp of smart TV versus the box. I like the idea of the smart TV all-in-one. That's like one more HDMI port that's free for like a game console or like a computer. But yeah, I totally get if the TV goes kaput, then you lost both those devices and have to replace them. But yeah.
I like the idea about like carrying your Fire Stick around and just shove it into whatever TV happens to be available, especially if you're going to watch with friends. It's like carrying your DVD collection with you when I was, in college, just taking the DVD collection to your friend's house. But if you travel, even if you're not a college student, but if you travel, if like you for work or anything like that, a lot of times you can go into these hotels, but especially to like Airbnbs, you'll be able to just plug your device in, and you've got your home entertainment center there. On whatever, so I like that idea.
We did that on vacation this year, and my husband thought I was crazy at first.
Yeah. Why
are you bringing the Apple TV? This is dumb. Yeah. And I plugged it in. He's like, no, this is really cool. We're watching what we want. I said, exactly.
I can tell you a story. A couple of years ago, I went to the March for Life. We stayed at an Airbnb in DC, and whoever was there before us had. On the smart TV, had logged into all of their accounts, including their YouTube channels. So the young people were watching all kinds of strange stuff to screw up their algorithm on YouTube. That's mean, but again, that's that you log into things, then you forget to log out, and yeah. So let's kind of go a little more systematic through the pros and cons. Let's talk about the smart TV pros and cons. So it's one remote. That's actually a really nice pro, is you get one remote, although usually you can control the TV with the streaming box remote, but okay. But it's unified experience, no extra box needed, very simple setup, not a lot of extra wires or other things hanging out around your TV. The con might be that because it's a built-in, I don't think Samsung, for instance, just to pick my brand out of the box, updates their smart TV software very often, sometimes when they leave it behind, and they're like, oh, you can't, we're not going to update it, but we're going to put it on our new TVs that you could come and buy, right? That sort of thing. So there's that. There can be some obsolescence, and because of that, they may lack some of the more advanced features that will be coming out. And Joanne, you hit the one that's really the big one for me, which is the privacy concerns. There was a few years ago, Samsung, the people have found some stuff in Samsung that it might have been actually recording what you were watching and sending it back to, so that they can advertise to you and stuff like that. And maybe there was even language in, I think, in a agreement, one of those privacy agreements you sign, that was like, oh, we may listen to conversations in the room.
Oh, that's so scary.
My Samsung.
Number one, where did you put the microphone in the TV?
Yeah, my Samsung has never been on the internet. When I took this out of the box, I didn't connect it to an Ethernet. I didn't connect it to Wi-Fi. I'm never putting it on the internet. I mean, it's got smart stuff in it, but I would never know it. So that's the big thing.
Yeah, I will put mine on the internet to see if there are any upgrades, just to see if there's any upgrades for like color or balance or anything like that. And then I leave it there for maybe half a day, and then I never watch anything on it. Yep. I shut it down afterwards.
Yep.
But that's the privacy concern for me is huge. And the fact that they have a ton of ads.
Yes. On the yes, the smart TVs, their internal smart app stuff tends to have way more ads than the boxes do. Yeah, that's true. Although I think some of the streaming boxes also will have ads that they throw in there, and that is something to be concerned with. But so that's the pros and cons of the smart TV. Then there's the streaming box pros and cons. So the pros on that is they tend to be the hardware tends to be more robust. They have better CPUs and better software, more frequent software updates than the tvOSs will. They are easier to upgrade. Like I said before, they come out with new technology. You can change the streaming box, but you can keep your TV. Like Joanne was saying, TVs can last for 10 years. They look fine, but the streaming stuff, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So that would be one thing, and then and again, easy to replace if something goes wrong. So the cons, you get some extra stuff, that you got to deal with. The extra wires, another remote, maybe. Although I have to tell you, I don't know the last time I touched my Samsung remote. Like,
yeah,
it's probably been years. It's probably covered in dust somewhere. I don't even know if I could lay my hands on it. I just never use it because it's controlled by the Apple TV remote. So,
that was the thing I was going to bring up too, because you said one remote was a pro for the smart TV, but actually in my family that was really a con, because being family of 8, we lose the remote constantly. It was like duct taped to a big back scratcher for a long time, just so we could see oh, there it is. It's pretty obvious the dog has it. But yeah, that interoperability is really good. And I think when we discovered the Roku app they could get on a tablet or a phone, we're like, wow, we're saved. We don't lose phones. We just lose this remote. So
yes, that's the nice thing was when Apple put Find My in their remotes, so that you can use the UWB chip and find it. It's 2 feet away, and you look. It's like hey, Joe, get up. It's under you. You're sitting on the remote. Get up. That's what so being able to have. But I love the fact that for the Apple TV, the controlling the TV was. I never had to program it. I'm not sure what functionality. I think there's an HDMI spec that allows control through the HDMI interface from the streamer. I never had to actually, in the old days, you had to program your remote to work with a particular TV. I think it's now a standard.
Oh, from a box to your TV, or yeah. I know the Nintendo Switch, I think, can do it. I don't know if it wants to do it on my TV, but I definitely have seen stuff like that too. There must be something in the protocol where it's volume up, volume down, some kind of API. So
yeah, which is great. I love the fact that I can do that. So, and then one of the other cons is that some of the streaming box ecosystems, they favor their own content. So, for example, Amazon, every Fire TV stick and device I've ever seen really pushes the Amazon content.
No, really?
Yeah. I mean, Apple does too, but not to the same degree.
No, at least with Apple, you have the Apple TV Center where you can have it take a look, create a hub,
be a hub
curate all your stuff, and that's fine. I don't use that.
Yeah,
I curate my own stuff.
Yeah. and it doesn't really work with every service. Like Netflix doesn't. It can't be controlled through there. And I think BritBox, or I forget whether BritBox is controlled, but I don't bother. I just do my own thing. So those are really some of the pros and cons of both. So how do you choose? So I guess, here's a couple of simple guidelines. Use a smart TV with the built-in, stuff if you want the simplest out-of-the-box setup, and you stick mostly to mainstream apps. Like if you're just a Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, Paramount, Peacock sort of person, HBO Max, you'd be okay with it with a smart TV if you want to have the simplest setup. It's just one box, and then you plug it into the wall and you give it some internet, and you're good to go.
One thing I'd add too, as far as I know, on the TLC library, it seems like there's some good support for like third-party apps. Because actually, so I use Jellyfin. We've got some content library, and actually, there's a native Jellyfin app for the Roku, the Roku TV, which is super nice. So we'll just kind of like sign into that, connect to my server, and then it's like kind of unified. It feels like Leo Netflix or something, which is kind of nice. So as far as I know, I'm not sure about the Samsung ecosystem or the Apple, but from the TLC side, that's TLC Roku.
And that's actually the interesting thing with some of them is they're not using their own proprietary smart TV stuff. They're using Roku is a very common one that you'll find that some manufacturers will just go to Roku. And so if you are used to a Roku box, you can have the Roku interface in the TV itself without the box. So it's an interesting idea. And there are third-party apps and lots of stuff in that ecosystem there. So that's true. So another reason maybe to choose a smart TV built in is if you don't want to, if you don't plan to upgrade your platform with new technologies, you just, I'll upgrade the technologies, the streaming technologies when I get a new TV in 5, or if you're the sort of person who buys a new TV every few years for whatever reason.
I've had friends call me though and say, why is my TV, the apps on my TV so slow? Why did it take so long? I can't get my thing to sign in, and I say, are you using the TV or a streaming box? And they're like, the TV. And I'm like, well, that's the problem with the TV.
Yeah. I bet a lot of TVs out there have underpowered CPUs for running
that wouldn't
those
surprise
apps.
me. Wouldn't surprise me.
Compared to streaming boxes, I bet dollars to donuts. That's one of the reasons why it's so slow. Not enough RAM and slow CPUs. That's totally it. So if you want to, if you think a streaming box or a streaming stick is something you might choose, here's why you might choose it. If you have an older TV now, maybe that would you don't want to replace it. This would be something to get. Or if you have a perfectly good TV whose streaming, the internal smart TV stuff is old and slow. You can connect a streaming box to that without replacing your TV. So that's actually a good way to do it. If you always want to have new features, or you want to be able to upgrade things, you want a faster UI, more consistent experience, that sort of thing. And certain streaming boxes connect with certain ecosystems. So, Joanne, you and I are in the Apple ecosystem. So my Apple TV is also my HomeKit hub, and it works with my HomePod and does continuity stuff with my iPhone, and all that sort of stuff is part of the reason why I prefer Apple TV, even though it can be a little more expensive than comparable boxes out there.
We would have gone that way at work at my parishes. Because we had a whole bunch of TVs put in during the pandemic. But we needed something to unify it because we had Sharps, we had Samsungs, we had TCLs. So the Roku was the easiest one for me to put in because it was economical to put on 13 different television sets. And everybody would know once you taught them, no matter which TV, which parish they were in, they were using the one box. Would I have liked to put Apple in? Oh, heck yeah.
Right.
But you had to think of per TV, how much were we going to spend?
Right.
But when you're in an ecosystem like us at home where everything is Apple controlled, it just makes sense.
And you can get Rokus for a third or a quarter of the price of the Apple TV. It's just the way it is. So I get that. And in that environment, it's a much more limited requirement. You don't need it to run every streaming service out there. That's not what you're doing with them there. Right. I get that.
And you can also lock them down. In my situation, I don't allow anybody to put any apps on.
Right. Right.
So you can control all of them. They're all centraled in one place.
Nice. So, and that's one of the things that is that ecosystem lock-in. Apple, like I said, Apple TV is best for working with iOS and HomeKit. Fire TV is if you are primarily interested in the Amazon ecosystem. That's a great. If you've got especially with Amazon Prime, you can subscribe to a bunch of streaming services within Amazon. You can do it with Apple too. So if you already have done that, then it's just very simply already there with that one sign in into the Amazon account. So that's good. And Roku, Google TV, they're a bit more neutral. They have slightly different UI philosophies, shall we say? But
and those come with their own little, sticky wickets.
Right.
But look, I have 3 different TVs in my house, 3 different brands.
Yeah.
My Sony is the big one for downstairs. We have a Vizio in our master bedroom, and in our guest bedroom we have a Samsung. Okay. So having all of them on one ecosystem, where you don't have to, the Vizio does this, the Sony does this, the Samsung does this. My husband likes one way to do everything.
Right.
So, and there you go.
Yep. I think a lot of us have people in our lives who are that way.
There you go.
They're not the geeks. So what do we expect to pay for these? So smart TVs will range between about $300 to $800, depending on your size and brand. I mean, you can go higher than that. I don't think you can get much lower than $300. There are TVs out there that go lower. I'm not sure I'd trust the $100 TV. For how long it would last, but mostly the smart TVs tend to start around 300 and go up from there. And then the streaming devices, the boxes and sticks, those will go anywhere from $30 to over $200 for some. Mostly the middle range is somewhere in that $60, $70 to $100 is where you find a lot. And
again, the thing is, get your TV for the size room that you're in. The 55-inch, and we could go 65-inch downstairs, but we have a speaker right next to, one of the speakers is right next to the TV.
Yeah.
So we really can't go any further, which may be why my husband might want to be getting a sound bar. But that's a whole other issue. Yeah. But upstairs in the master bedroom, we had to grow to a 45-inch because we're old and we can't see.
Yeah.
And that one was cheaper. I think I bought that. That was a Vizio, and I think I got it for $250.
Okay.
But you put the Apple TV on it, and it's beautiful. And then, of course, the small one that we have used to be our master bedroom is 32-inch Samsung that made it into the guest room.
Uh-huh.
So so each of those rooms has a TV that's about what you can take. But if they're producing TVs that are not under 55 inches anymore, this is going to get very interesting very fast.
People aren't buying TVs as much as they used to either. That's another thing. Is there was the great HD switchover back around 15 years ago, maybe close to 20 at this point, where they sold a lot of TVs to people because everybody wanted to go from standard definition to high def, and then they tried to get everyone to buy 3D TV, and no one did that, and they wanted to keep the gravy train going. They kind of convinced a bunch of people to get 4K, but that's not quite been as a big switch over. And like I said, the 8K is just not happening. And so people will stick with what they've got because the TVs are generally lasting. They don't get as hot. That's why old TVs the tube TVs used to die. Is they get really hot and then they blow capacitors, or they'd blow, in the old days, the tubes, and they just would die really quickly. The last time I replaced my TV was when Samsung was notorious for an issue where the volume controls on the TV itself would corrode over time. And then the volume would start going up and down on its own.
I've seen that happen on my little Samsung.
Yeah.
Okay, every once in a while. Nothing drastic, but we don't use it very much either.
Right. So, if you used it more, you'd probably see it do that. Now, it wasn't as much of an issue because I wasn't using the internal sound on it. I had it actually muted. I was running the sound out through the HDMI to my Apple TV and the whole other thing. But it was on screen, so it was like a distracting. And I finally got to the point, I can't deal with this.
Yeah. So sounds like the I can just see the advertisement for it now, Dom. It's like Samsung TV free, and someone will see it and go, "Oh, can't turn that down." And
you can't turn that down.
You can't.
I gotta get a soundboard here. I gotta get down that keyboard with the extra buttons. You got the
I get over here. I get the
sad trombone.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh my gosh! Like Batman for streamers.
Yes.
Actually, what I should have done was. Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah, rim shot.
So in any case, so what was I saying? The TV, like people don't necessarily need to buy a new TV as often, and that's a big thing that people will push back. I just don't. I like houses. I mean, there are a lot of big houses, sure. But there are a lot of older houses that just don't have the space. I stayed once in an Airbnb where literally it was like the wall, like the TV was the entire wall of the living room. It was like, wow. It was like the kids were like, "This is crazy!" Like it was like the life size whatever was on the TV, and it was ridiculously huge. Like you'd get a neck crick just looking from side to side, watching the action.
I drive by houses and they have their. You can see it through the window.
Yeah.
And some of them are like, "Are you crazy? What the heck size is that?" I think replacing a television set there needs to be some factors. I can see on our 10-year-old one now up in the corners that things are starting to fade.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then when I saw what was going on with Sony and TCL, I just mentioned to my husband, I said, I think we should start to consider looking through this year.
Yeah.
Because if we want to get a true Sony one last time,
right,
this may be it. What will we do with the 55-inch? We might give it away like we have before to, deserving churches who need them.
Yeah.
Or we might keep it because we might not be able to get a smaller one for our bedroom at some point.
Right.
Which I still don't know how I'm going to put a 55-inch in that bedroom. But you know what I mean? But you have to know your viewing habits and you need to look at your product. Like I said, I bought it 10 years ago for the future. I will do the same thing this time. I will buy it for the future.
Right.
That way it lasts.
Yep. So a couple points before we start talking about maybe just some brand names. We're not going to go too much into depth on that. Just throw some out there as ideas. But before we get to that, a couple more points. Gaming and streaming, if you want to game on your device. So you want to make sure if you get a TV, you want a TV with HDMI 2.1 and with an 120 hertz frequency on it. That's the best responsiveness and the best connection for all of the different gaming consoles. So just they'll give you the best viewing experience and the least ghosting as things move rapidly across the screen. That's the big problem you want to avoid. So you want to look for that. And then just know that most TVs come with multiple HDMI inputs. So that you can plug in more than one thing. And some people have more than one streaming box because they use them for different purposes. Different streaming boxes have different, apps or whatnot. So you could do that, or, you could have multiple game consoles or whatnot. In fact, I have a HDMI switcher that I've connected to my TV because I just wanted to have something more accessible than having to climb behind the TV. But I want to, change things.
And that's one thing you should consider is you might have to get a streaming box dependent upon what apps you want to use.
Yeah.
Because, for instance, I have a couple of apps that will work on the Apple ecosystem, but won't work on Roku.
Right.
So you have to decide, is the app worth it? Or is the streaming box worth it?
Right. That's a good point. Yeah. The nice thing about the Apple one and the Google ones is they connect to app stores that have thousands of apps and, various kinds of apps, not just streaming services, but other things as well. So something to keep in mind. All right. So a few brands to think of. Joanne, you were talking about like maybe getting a new Sony Bravia. Yeah. The XR-A95L is an OLED. It's the top tier. It's the one. It's got the best screen, and it uses Google TV's smart platform. If you're looking to get this as a smart TV without the box, I know you're not. You're an Apple TV person, but for those who are looking for that,
no. But sometimes the next one down, you want to buy the top tier. That's fine, but the next one down is not overkill and might work in your room.
Yes.
It is room dependent, I think.
Right. Right. Yeah. So I'm going to have a link to an article from Tom's Guide that kind of goes through the best smart TVs available right now that are QLED, OLED, and mini LED. I don't want to necessarily get into the the nitty gritty of that. They'll explain some of that in the article. But like, so the best overall smart TV, the Bravia is listed as that in their article. The best Google TV is from Hisense, which is a brand name I'm starting to see a little more. I've seen, I actually had a Hisense room air conditioner. So they do a lot of different stuff. Chinese company, obviously. The best WebOS TV. Wow, WebOS is still a thing, apparently. I haven't seen one of those in a while. Is an LG. Samsung does Tizen, which is Samsung's proprietary smart TV interface. Roku does its, in addition to being in other TVs like TCL and others, they actually have their own branded TVs. So they have Roku, the like Roku Plus series. And then Amazon is making their own. They have the Amazon Omni Fire TV. So there's a bunch of ones out there on this article. You can go through it and look at their pros and cons and whatnot. And then
the Tom's Guide is good.
Oh yeah, they always are good for this sort of thing.
Read up.
Yeah,
on it.
There are a lot of websites out there. Like if you Google, best TV, best smart TV, there's going to be a lot of junk that comes back for links. Tom's Guide is reliable. They're good. Then there's another one. We'll have a link to an article at whathifi.com where they're talking about streaming boxes. And if you folks remember, we had one of our Christmas gift guides, episode 326, where Tom Grellinger did a extensive discussion of streaming TV boxes. So, of all the different kinds. So I'm not going to go into too much depth here, but you get your Apple TV 4K, which is really nice. Get that smooth UI. There's been a long-standing talk about an upcoming upgrade.
I have been waiting and waiting and waiting. I will not give in. I'm waiting.
Yes, because Joanne, as soon as you give up and buy it, it'll come out the next week. That's just the way it is. Google TV has a nice streaming box. The Amazon Fire Stick. They have a second generation one. That's a good budget choice if you were in the Amazon system. The Roku Ultra got a lot of things. NVIDIA Shield is a power user gamer sort of streaming box. So that might be on the upper end for folks. I think it's a little more niche device. So, and Joanne, you had something you want to say about sound bars and external speakers.
Yeah, it again, room dependent. When we bought our house here about almost 27 years ago, we upgraded our sound system from a 5.1 to a 7.2 and, complete surround sound. And yes, we have a very large back, combo den kitchen. And all of a sudden my husband said, maybe we should get a sound bar. Now, I think I understand his way of thinking. Okay, because in this room, if we're just in the den area, it's a small space.
Yeah,
it really doesn't sound that great until you go into the kitchen, right. And then in the kitchen, it actually sounds the way it should. But if you're sitting in the small space, everything is coming at you quickly.
Right.
So sometimes these sound bars might be the way to go. But in looking into them, I found out that a lot of them now are becoming proprietary.
Right.
Oh, so for instance,
go ahead.
Sony Bravia has a Sony soundbar, and that's the only one you can put on the Sony.
So you wouldn't be able to get like a Sonos soundbar or something like that and connect it?
They're saying no. Now, maybe you could put it on there and it won't work properly.
As well. Yeah.
But you have to be careful now because they're doing this sort of thing. Or if you want to get a soundbar and match it to your system use it like as a central channel, then you've got to go proprietary again. We have Klipsch system. Yep. So, and a Denon receiver. So it's like, well, would you get the Denon soundbar or would you get the Klipsch soundbar?
Right.
So I think when we start to do this with a new TV, you really need to read, compare, throw it at Claude, have Claude dissect it for you, and then figure out what you want to spend and get it right the first time. Try anyway. Because it can get very expensive.
one of the things about the sound bars is that they've actually gotten really good. They sound amazing, and in fact, they sound as in a lot of cases, they sound as good as a 5.1 sound system will sound. I mean, unless you have a really nice, home theater, surround sound system in the right sort of room, as you mentioned, Joanne, for it. But otherwise, for most people, a sound bar is going to be pretty good, or a couple of smart speakers, and we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But that will be enough for most people. I think I have a home theater thing that I've got here with the Harman Kardon, which I haven't used in years because I have smart speakers that do just fine. For me, I don't need the home theater thing anymore.
And most televisions, the sound is not great. However, I hear the new ones are getting better.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
But they're usually not that great, and I can tell the difference.
And most people are watching with captions on these days because they want
that too.
Yeah, because they need to. What the heck are they saying? All right, so that is our run through of smart TVs versus streaming boxes. I don't know if there's any other things you all wanted to say, but if we're done with that, well, I think at some point we may come back and talk more about TV sound, sound bars, home theater systems. That might be worthwhile to bring up in the future to go a little more in depth on that. But for now, this is where we are with smart TVs and in streaming boxes in 2026. So before we move on to our headlines, I'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the secrets of technology, including Matthew B., Sailing L., Chow N., CM, and Gene C. Their generous donations at GiveStarQuest.com make it possible for us to continue the secrets of technology and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting GiveStarQuest.com. So we get some headlines. Our first headline I want to talk about is one that's actually related. It's from The Verge, and it says, "Everyone is stealing TV." That's the headline. And basically, they are talking about these streaming boxes that seem to be sold in lots of farmers markets and in these little one-on-one places that they come out of China, and basically you pay $200, $300, or $400 and you get thousands of streaming services for free. You don't pay a dime to get all of these paid streaming services and cable channels and sports networks and all kinds of stuff. And it's a very interesting read because you get a lot of people saying, yeah, it's all free. Why would I pay for streaming services? And it's not illegal, or I don't care if it's illegal. Were they going to arrest me? And lots of that sort of,
will. Yeah.
There's a lot of that kind of talk. And then there's some concerns about privacy and, this box coming out of China. What kind of, if I buy an Apple TV streaming device or a Roku or Google, I know that there's eyes on this. There's privacy concerns, what kind of controls are there on these boxes? So what do y'all think of this? Is this something you would ever do or advise someone to, if someone came up and said, hey, I could pay $300 to get this box, should I get it? What would be your response?
I just feel like there's so many ethical questions going in with this. I think piracy is a weird topic. I think there's a definite argument to be said for like archival purposes, like, oh, really old software nobody can get anywhere else, like you should back that up. But then we have great options like the Internet Archive for people who are doing this stuff, like preserving media. So if you look at it from like the Library of Alexandria side, like, yeah, there is a side of like media preservation, but like taking live TV that is offered as a service, that just seems like just on the nose, like stealing. That just doesn't seem like there's any way you could even argue way around, like, I'm getting Dish for free, whereas everybody else pays like $75 a month. Like, I think that's the part I couldn't really get behind. And Netflix too. If you can get Netflix on this box, like that's a service, that's a business. Like being able to just jump in and say, I've got free Netflix, like that's a weird way to go. So I'm definitely against that side of it.
Joanne, what would you say to someone?
Oh, tale as old as time. I have lived long enough to remember cable boxes like this.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. This has been going on for decades. If there is a way to beat the man at his own game, someone is going to come up with it. That doesn't mean I condone the practice.
Right.
But you don't need a streaming box from China in order to get all these streaming services, because I do know people who use a streaming stick, which I will not name, but most people know,
Right.
that can be altered in order to do the exact same thing, and they're proud of it.
Yeah.
So, folks, it is stealing no matter what you do. You're just going to have to make the decision. Do I want to steal and stick it to the man, or do I want to be honest and pay for it? I try to stay on the honest side. In the beginning, that was very tempting.
Yeah.
But that's why I put an antenna up and got the broadcast over the air, and just that's the way it's your conscience. What your conscience, formed as it is,
right? And in addition to the ethical and moral and legal implications of doing this, there's also the idea, like, if everybody were to do what you're doing, then these companies have no incentive to make the content anymore. So yes. So what you're essentially doing is relying on everybody else being honest and paying for the service so that you can get yours for free.
Passwords. Remember that? People are still watching everybody else's streams.
Right. That's what Netflix is having to crack down on that. The whole sharing passwords.
Yeah. When they started it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I know that argument's a good one, Dom, but the thing is that those companies are going to continue to make these products, to put out the content, and they're going to continue to charge us more and more and more because they can. And I don't know when we're going to reach the saturation point.
I'm sorry. I don't want you to misunderstand me. I'm not saying that I'm not making an argument for using these boxes.
No, I know you're not.
I'm just saying that by using these boxes, you're relying on everyone else to continue to pay for their accounts. Right. You're freeloading off of everyone else who's paying, basically. And that's, although a few of there was this woman who, like, she evangelizes this to all of her friends and families and coworkers, like, you should buy this.
Yeah.
Like, why
there are
would
people
you
who do this?
Yes. I mean, there's like you said, there's the people who like to stick it to the man. There's the people who don't understand that there's a legal, ethical, or moral implications. But gosh, it just,
Because I think if there's a money side of it too, like, let this be a time to be a plug for, like, the local library. They've got so many movies and shows. You can just check it out, dust off the humble DVD player, and, like, still enjoy media and good stories and stuff. But, like, you have to go through that, and then check out movies. They get more funding. The library prospers, and that's awesome. So
I do understand the frustration. I went through some of it this fall as I was trying to watch the New England Patriots playing.
Yes.
And while I do have Paramount Plus, because that's where the Patriots, most of their games are. Anytime they were on Fox, I couldn't watch it because Fox and my local cable affiliate, Verizon, are in some kind of stupid dispute, so that they won't carry it. And there was so I ended up, like, doing a trial subscription 1 week to Fox Sports, and I did a trial subscription the next week to Fubo, so because they carry Fox Sports. Like, I had I'm gonna run out of trial subscriptions if they keep winning, and it's like, until I discovered there's a app called Local TV Plus.
Oh, okay.
And they're Boston only, but there was a thing a couple of years ago, Local TV something or other. It was similar, where they would set up antennas in a city, and as many antennas as they had was as many streams as they could send out, and they were streaming. They were basically capturing anything through the air and streaming it to anyone who accessed it on the internet. And they got shut down. They got sued into oblivion. But these guys have set up something similar. It's only in Boston. But they seem to think that as a nonprofit organization, they seem to be somehow figured out a way to be in the clear. So I can actually watch local Boston TV that way. But that's only good for me. That's not for everyone else. You know what I mean? But I do get that frustration. Like, I can't just turn on my TV and watch a thing. Like it's also fractured now, and there's so many people who want a piece of my limited dollars just so I can watch the thing I want to watch, and it's here, it's there, and it's $30 there and $50 there. It's frustrating.
Sling has come out with a way, if you have their product, which we do, where we could buy a day to watch sports.
Oh,
they've started that about a month or two ago. First, it was you had to have both orange and blue in Sling. Now it doesn't matter. And I kept getting emails saying, if you want to buy a day, buy a week of this, they're starting to get into the idea, okay, people want to watch sports, and we're having them churn through our system all the time. So how can we keep them on one of our systems and let them still watch sports?
I like
the
idea
model too. Yeah, you have it's like you buy the ticket. It's kind of like you're going to the game almost. You're like, okay, I'll pay I don't know, $20. Go to the game, get the ticket, get some popcorn, and then it's not a recurring thing. Yeah, that seems like a better model.
Yeah,
I just see that for other things too. Like I want to watch a movie, or I know we already can rent movies and stuff like that, but like I would love to be able to rent a service for a day for $5 instead of signing in for a whole month for $30, like whatever. Like I don't.
Yeah, we just did that for the Olympics. We want to watch the Olympics, so we went into Peacock for the month, and then we'll get out again. Right.
I mean, I suppose they're getting a whole month out of you, even if you're just signing up for a day and whatnot. But
yeah, I'll watch Traders. I'll watch a couple of seasons of Traders while I'm there.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, I think it's probably more logical for sports because if people want to come in for a day to watch a game, that sort of thing, and it's live as opposed to a recorded movie thing. I get that. All right, so I did have another headline I wanted to talk about. This one came across. It was very interesting. It was right up our alley. This is in the CBC, Canadian Broadcast Channel, whatever it is, the other C is, how a Canadian in Rome is building a Catholic AI from Vatican archives. This is fascinating. I had never heard of this guy. The website is magisterium.com, and it looks, when you go there, it looks like ChatGPT. It's got a little prompt, and it's basically a large language model trained only on stuff in the Vatican archives. And it's a fascinating story to read. You read through it, how this guy's a convert, how he got to where he is. He actually works in the Vatican, but this is like a side thing that's funded by donors. And they're basically going through, I just realized I say basically a lot. I'm sorry. I'm going to try to stop saying that. But what they're doing is they're taking all of the collected works of the church fathers, council records, synods, papal encyclicals, stuff going back as far as they can, and just piling it into this AI's model. And the way they put it is like a large language, one of the more general models like ChatGPT or Claude is trained on everything. And it's so much stuff, it makes it easier for it to hallucinate and to get things wrong. But when you specialize in a smaller corpus, you're going to end up much more accurate. And in fact, they said that it cites all its sources. I thought it was a fascinating article and an interesting idea. What did you all think of it?
I use it.
Oh, do you? Okay. What do you use it for?
I use it for Bible study. I use it to look up liturgical. Sometimes I'll look up liturgical law, or I'll look up some sort of canonical thing on it. It is limited to what they've put in it so far. It has told me a couple of times we don't have that yet.
Okay.
Which is interesting. But it's very precise. And as far as documents are concerned, I haven't seen anything crazy. But but it's not good. I'm trying. When I ask it to give me some plain English as to, okay, I get the Theo speak, but can you condense this into plain English? That it has a little problem with.
Interesting.
It wants to keep talking Theo speak because that's what it's being programmed to.
Yeah.
Whereas I'll take what I get sometimes from Magisterium, put it into Claude and say, could you please make this in plain English for my, for what I need to write it for? And it will.
Okay.
So, but I think the repository is phenomenal. If they're going to do everything that they say they're going to do, this will be the definitive place to find everything as far as Catholic documents are concerned.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's better than New Advent. It's better than, some other places in the Catholic realm to go find info.
Father Justin AI.
Yeah. Oh, please. Let's not go back to that tragic thing.
Well, in fact, that's one of the interesting things they talk about is they say that they don't want it to have a personality. Like they're not looking for it to. They say I prefer to think of the voice as that of a librarian with a confessional seal and no long-term memory, in the sense of very private. And that they're trying to balance between being too cold, which might turn some users off, and becoming a substitute for relationships.
Right.
Always the danger with AI.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm looking at the prompt right now and it says, "Good day. I am at your service. What do you need?"
Right.
But right under it, it's got things like draft a homily.
Yep.
So we all know who's using this.
Yeah.
And the first one is it a sin?
Well, that raises, Leo, you were going to say something, but that raises an interesting point about it. But Leo, what were you going to say?
Oh, yeah, I think that might have been what I was thinking to talk about, too. The scrupulosity aspect. Was that you were thinking of, Dom? Or, yeah, because I thought in the article, too, it said one of the worries was that people with who struggle with scrupulosity or OCD would kind of use this as a way to be like, oh, is what I'm doing sinful, and try to find an exact pinpoint. But I think, that would be dangerous because on the one hand, you have an access to all this repository of knowledge, but then it really, gives you the freedom to kind of delve into obsession a bit more. We're like, oh, looking at this and kind of wondering a lot more and again, being able to ask any question, but minus the guidance of a wise priest or some kind of senior person to be like, hey, let me talk to you about this. So you have someone to go back and forth with. It'll just give you the information, not someone to give you the guidance to. So I do think that would be one of the more negative sides, and maybe they could add some, I don't know what the solution to that would be.
Some guardrails. When people ask about that sort of thing, suggest that you need to go talk to someone. They talk to
calling your local priest. Here's masstimes.org. Here's your IP address. And
so they talk about how most of the people who use it are like you, Joanne, Catholic professionals. They're using it in that, but they are increasingly saying that lay Catholics are just finding it and using it, and they have like you said, they quote a lot of people are struggling with a burdened conscience, and so they're asking about what does he say? People are trying to navigate after their will broke. In other words, when they committed a sin or did something wrong. What does this mean? How do we fix the situation? And he says the user base scales male and Gen Z, one of the loneliest cohorts in the West, and one that appears to be rediscovering Catholicism. And talks about, users who show up and yell in all caps at the AI to start because
they have a feature where it says, should I go to confession? It just says yes.
right. Yeah, there you go.
Always.
I never think of using this thing in that way. I mean, it could be my age. It could be my profession. I don't know.
It's an age thing. I think
it's got to be an age thing because I wouldn't even think of asking Claude that.
Yeah, there's a lot of I hear about young people who use the various AIs and they are conversational with it. They talk to it. They're comfortable with treating it like a conversation you would have with a person. Leo, I mean, you are obviously in that generation. Maybe you could speak to that a little more.
Yeah, no, I've had some friends who I did have one friend who kind of went down a rabbit hole and sort of fell into that kind of thing, like talking to AI like a person. He's better now, which is good. But yeah, it just must be something about our status as kind of digital natives sort of being so used to facilitating communication over the internet that it's just like talking to a friend or something. I chat with people on Discord, not being able to see the differences between, this is Discord, this is a mathematical large language model that isn't real, it doesn't really think, and just kind of the UI looks the same, so it just kind of blends together into digital space. And then the sense, too, of even knowing it's an AI, knowing that you're not going to be judged from what it says. It'll support you. It's got your back, which on the one hand is comforting, but on the other hand, it could lead you down the dangerous path. So
yeah, I see. Yeah. I make jokes about Claude with my friends. I've got my little friend Claude here and he tells, but I don't see it that way or treat it that way. I treat it as large language model. I need some help. It can break things down for me that I can't or don't have time to do. So that's how I look at it.
See, I tell ChatGPT that I don't talk to me like you're my pal. You're not real. You're not a person. Give me the facts. I try to get it to curb the personality aspects. But one of the dangers, but one of the dangers of a lot of these models is that they are trained to be friendly, to be supportive, to so when you give a prompt, they tend to give you what you want to hear. They want to please you. Yeah. That's how they're trained. And so in this sort of situation, something that's like ChatGPT or Claude is going to, if you present it with, I'm having this struggle, it's going to tell you what it thinks you want to hear, even if it's bad for you, which we've had situations in society where some people have had suicidal ideation and it encouraged it. So I agree with this magisterium.com is let's be careful. We don't want to put a personality on it. There was a quote I wanted to say. It's a positive opportunity for people to explore issues that they might not be comfortably addressing with other people. All right. So the risk is substitution, replacing human accompaniment with a system that feels safer because it never reacts. And that's a really good point. So we're going a little long here, so I want to move on to our picks of the week. And Leo, why don't you go first with your pick this week?
Yeah, so my pick is called Zotero. I heard about it from one of my programming professors in operating systems engineering, which is super cool class. And we do a lot of reading of academic journals where my project is building a scheduler simulator on the operating system level. So like how do processes get bounced around? How do you share multiple cores, threading, all that stuff? And we've been reading a lot of academic journal articles, and Zotero is so cool for students. You can go to look at academic journals. There's like one button in your extensions manager. You just click it and it saves it to your like kind of research account, and it tracks all of your citations, every paper you've read. It's cross-platform too, so I can like be looking for stuff on my laptop and then they just go onto my tablet so I can read through it on a better device for reading. And it generates bibliographies really easily too. So let's say I'm working on a big old paper. I've got to have like 10 sources, so I can just kind of find my sources and just generate it. Formats it like that too. There's plugins for Google Docs and Word, I think, so you can just really easily add them in. I don't know if anyone listening has like LaTeX experience, but it's like text, sort of like tech references, but like a lot easier and a lot more user friendly. So super cool for researchers, or if you read a lot of papers, you might be able to do stuff with like blog posts too. I haven't looked too much into that side. Reading blogs, saving articles like that, but primarily it's for academic sources. So
interesting. It reminds me a lot of DevonThink, which is a Mac app, which does a lot of collecting and has a built-in AI search tool for finding things. But this, because it's web-based, there's an app, but it has a web tool that lets you, it senses when you're on research pages and research sites and that sort of stuff. So that's really cool. I like it.
Yeah.
So is it a subscription model, or is it?
No, it's free. I think it's FOSS as far as I know. I think you can get a premium version. I think it's just for storage is the one thing. Okay. I could have sworn maybe it's not. It might not be FOSS. I think it's closed source, but
it's free.
Free as far as I've used it. Yeah, and I think I have maybe 45 pappapers I've grabbed on there and I've started reading through. I think just storage is what you need to filter through. Yeah, 300 megabytes of storage for free, and then if you want 2 gigabytes, that's $20 a year. But a lot of this is just text. So that's a lot of storage. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Excellent. Very good pick. Joanne, what's your pick this week?
Well, I figured I would, even though I have picked it, you have picked it. Let's talk the Apple HomePod. For those of you in the Apple ecosystem, they, when paired, can become part of your television system. I mean, if you're just buying a system and you're not sure you want a sound bar and you can't afford a large, 7.2 surround sound, pairing a couple of these HomePods isn't a bad idea. Also, the minis are good for your TVs upstairs because those again, the sound on the TVs is not that great. But if you're older like me and you want to have it on your side of the room to not disturb your spouse on the other side of the room would like to sleep, these are a good investment. I mean, the small ones are $99, the bigger ones are $299. Yeah. But they do a lot more than you think they sound a lot better than you think they can.
Yeah.
They are a hub for the home, so they can do that. And when you put them all together, you could run all of your sound out of all of them in your house. That was something that we tried to do a couple of times wired here over the years that never worked. Once we got these, all of a sudden Christmas music came out of every room of our house this year.
Right.
Which made my husband extremely happy. So,
yeah, which is good.
There you go.
So I got to tell you, the HomePod Minis, just if you get a stereo, you can stereo pair them. You can pair them together with your TV. That's what I have. That's my sound system for my TV.
Yeah.
And it works great. I mean, there are occasional glitches. I've had occasional issues where one of them dropped out and I couldn't figure out why, and I had to disconnect it and reset it and repair it. But in general, 99% of the time for the last several years, I've used the stereo pair for my sound system on my TV, and it is surprisingly good. I mean, I don't have cavernous rooms in my house, so it's not like I need to fill a stadium with it. So for $200, it's a really good sound bar stereo system. And I'm not sure if it's limited to 2. I wonder if I could do surround with 4.
I think it might be limited to 2.
Yeah. Well,
we'd
Apple,
have to
get
look
on
that
it.
up.
Yeah, we need to get a little better with that, Apple, and let's do some surround sound on that. Very good. So my pick this week is a pretty simple device, straightforward, but rechargeable batteries these days. Everyone's got them. We've got a ton of them. I'm always recharging batteries, and for a long time I had a little Panasonic Eneloop 4-position recharger that had a plug on the back of it, and you plug it into an outlet, and they went okay, except it takes up a whole outlet, on the wall, and it was always falling off the wall, and then my outlets are not conveniently located. It was always behind something. It was annoying. So I decided to see what I could find, and I found this. The Panasonic makes a large one. It's an 8-bay, so you can charge up to 8 batteries at once. And it's got a long power cord, so I can just put it on my desk and run the power cord to the power strip and be done with it there. And it's really nice. I like this because you can charge AA's and AAA's, and you can charge, a single battery. You can charge 4 or 8 or however many you want to charge at a time. It's got a nice indicator at the top, and if the battery is dead, if it's charging it and says this is not a good battery, it's not going to hold charge, it will indicate it and tell you to recycle it. That this is, I think it blinks red or something. So when it's kind of end of life battery, it's it's just not working very well anymore. And that's it. It's $40, which, I mean, I suppose you can find cheaper battery chargers. I'm not sure I want a cheap battery charger because that's a fire hazard.
I was gonna say that sounds like house fires. So.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't scrimp on battery related technology. Let's just put it that way.
Gosh,
that's not an area to scrimp on. But it says it'll fully charge 8 AAA's or 8 AA's, 8 AA's in 5 hours, 8 AAA's in 3 hours, and that's I think from fully discharged. Like if it's half charge, you know how it works. So it's great. I like it, and I recommend it.
Do you have a brand of batteries you like to go with it too, or what's your favorite battery brand?
I do like the Eneloop batteries, although there is there's a particular brand that's better for like smoke detectors and that sort of stuff. There are different battery technology. Hold on just a second. I got my battery case here with me.
Nice.
Oh, geez, look at that.
This was in a Christmas gift guide last year, and I got it for Christmas.
Nice.
I think the batteries are actually in the
in the smoke detector. Yeah, I just want to pop upstairs and grab that.
Yeah, really.
But there's different battery technologies, and I'll pick it as a future pick of the week. But I generally go with the Eneloops. I like those. I have in the past used the Amazon rechargeables as well. Those are fine. They don't last as long in the number of charge cycles. But I have so many things that doorbells and scales and so many things that require batteries. I'm just constantly charging and swapping batteries in this house. So excellent. So those are our picks of the week, and that is our show for this time. We would love to get your feedback on anything we've talked about this time, and you can do that by sending us an email to technology@sqpn.com. Visit the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/discord. You'll find links from our discussion and our picks of the week on our show notes at starquest.fm/TEC331. And of course, you can find previous episodes at sqpn.com/technology. And follow the Secrets of Tech if you don't already do so in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, in your favorite podcast app, or listen on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/StarQuestMedia. And of course, write a review in Apple Podcasts or any of the podcast directories that let you do reviews or ratings. 5 stars is always welcome. And share the podcast with your friends. Help us grow this community, reach more listeners. And so until next time, Leo Devick, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of technology.
Thanks, Dom.
And Joanne Mercier, thank you as well.
Thanks, Dom, and go Pats.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Technology on StarQuest. And I agree, go Pats. Here's another show on the StarQuest network you're sure to enjoy, The Catholics of Oz. Find it wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/Oz.